before we even go into what
Okay, let's go to George H.W. Bush and Big Buddy. They called him Barbara, but his name was Big Buddy when he played football. It ain't no the Statue of Liberty is a drag queen. Gave to us by friends to tell us that we being ran by drag queens that hate women.
Man, listen.
And I don't got no look. I don't care about nobody's personal life. I don't care if you choose to sleep with a hairy ass man in your bed. That ain't got nothing to do with me because I'm not gonna be there. And you can't get me to come because that ain't my lane. Right? But for the people that it is, I don't care. I'm just telling you what they was using to oppress us. They was using cross-dressers to masquerade as matriarchs to trick us into believing that the matriarchs was under some kind of demented rage of power. No, it was all drag queens. It wasn't no women. Look, the flip side of patriarchy is feminism. That's the other side of the coin. Most of your feminine Barbara singing all them, they cross dressers.
Hillary Clinton. What was his name or whatever that thing's name?
Hillary was an actual female, but she was being controlled by the old man Bush.
Okay.
Her CIA code name is Evergreen because her job was transporting minors and cargo containers from all around the world to the Americas. Bill Clinton's CIA code name is the Snowman because he was bringing all that cocaine in Arkansas. Barack Obama his CIA code name is the Jackal. The Jackal is the patron saint of Kenya. He said he was born in Kenya.
Yeah, boy. We definitely got a hot one on our hands tonight, buddy. Yeah, you talking about a block party, boy. We burning it down, man. This is the third one, the 3P. So now, yeah, fuck it. I'm gonna go there. So Barack, because I know about cloning. I know you know about cloning. And I also know that a lot of us, I think, don't take it serious as to how real cloning is. So being a student of Dr. York, me personally, I know that's a real thing. I know how deep it goes. But can you kind of tap into how cloning plays an effect with what we're seeing in this circus that we call the U.S. government and some of their past presidents?
You ever heard of Operation Paperclip?
Yes, sir.
Well, the Third Reich had acquired the scrolls for genetic manipulation that we call cloning. And in this process, after World War II, they went to Brazil and they went to Argentina to set up a breeding program. They call it the Boys from Brazil. The false narrative is that they were cloning little Adolf Hitlers. That's not who they was cloning. They were cloning Akhenaten, who we get Barack Obama from. The Boys from Brazil, they went and made 50 clones of Akhenaten, and most of them they killed doing experiments on them. So it's only a handful of them left, but it's more than one or two. It's like 5 or 6, and they use them as each other's doubles when they going through certain stuff. The cloning of Akhenaten was to deprive Tutankhamun from his right to claim the throne, which is the Boy King. The Boy King came to us as Tupac Amaru, aka the reincarnation of King Tut, who was coming to get his throne. And whenever the one who's the rightful heir is being undermined, they have to call a superior elder to the forefront to give them their shit. I want my shit back. So in the terms of the Orisha, Tupac is my Legba. I'm his Ogun. He opened the path and I'm kicking down the door. Now we can go through some voodoo clues to help you figure it out.
Let's
right?
go.
Haitian Jack told Tupac, and this is a Haitian Jack interview I'm quoting from. If you do your performance for 22 months, it's going to take 22 years before you see the result. The marker is on the song, I think it's Outlaw with Lil Rah at 11, which gave rise 22 years later to an emperor, Haile Selassie, come to us as Gangsta Nip. When the emperor came and forced the reign of the king, then the emperor got a call on the god. It's the rank. Everybody get a chance to solve the problem until the problem solver get here. So now we come to solve the problem. Tupac said in his jailhouse interview, if you think that I'm a problem, wait till this next dude come.
Yes, sir. And that goes back to, I ain't saying I'm the one who gonna change the world, but I guarantee you I'm gonna be the spark.
I sparked the brain that changed the world.
And boy, when I tell you we here now. Because it ain't just one brain. It ain't just one.
So they keep asking me about having mercy on these motherfuckers. I got the same mercy they did when they was cutting babies out of women's stomach throughout the South. I got the same amount of mercy they had when they was setting niggas on fire. I got the same amount of mercy they had when they was putting chokeholds on brothers in L.A. When they was shooting them down in the back in Chicago, Detroit, New York, Boston, Baltimore, Philadelphia, Miami, Atlanta, Houston, Dallas, I got the same amount of mercy for all of them. I got the same amount of mercy for them that they had for us when they was doing that to us. I don't got none. I got the same amount of mercy. If they want me to know what do I want to do with them? Line their ass up. I'm going to pull the guillotine because I want their blood on my hands. Because they didn't got enough sisters' blood, they bloody hands across her face. That native movement ain't no haphazard shit. That's because the one with the bloody hand was trying to conceal the woman's voice. So every time they do something to one of them sisters, in order to let you know that we know who the black hand is, with your black glove saturated with the red blood of the original organic people of the land. Right? I don't got no mercy for them. That's how much mercy I got for them. So when Tupac said he ain't gonna have no mercy, just turn about fair play. I'm gonna feel as bad for you as you felt for me when you had your foot on my neck. It ain't personal. It's just business. It's family business, so I just take family business personal.
Ooh. Yes, sir. Yeah. And shout out to my Pac Shrine. I lit him up earlier, and because I wrote a children's book called Starseeds, and the two children's main characters was Malik and Amaru. One was for Malcolm, and the other one was for Pac. And that's powerful. Like, oh my God, that's powerful, because that goes back to the Dessalines energy.
Yeah, look, my outlaw name is Morpheus Hitler, the bitch nigga cleanser.
Say it again for the people in the back.
My outlaw name is Morpheus Hitler, the bitch nigga cleanser. So we here to get the bitch ass niggas out the game. What Pac tell you when he was all informing us about Death Row East? He say, we just trying to get the imposters out now. We already checkmated their ass 3 years ago. It's 25, 26 years now. They been checkmated. We just had to get the imposters out. The frauds.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, we here now. We in tonight, buddy. It's a combination of Ogun and Shango energy in here tonight. Like, this is dope. I knew this was high. I swear to God, I felt like this interview was gonna be like the it was like when Pop came home, when Big Shug came and got him out. I felt like this interview was gonna be that, and I swear on everything I love, if it ain't no less than that, because that's what this is. Like, that's what this is.
Look,
like,
it's 5 sisters of the Cifia. It's 5 sisters of the Cifia. They all point a bear All the 5 sisters of Pointer Bear. That is your West Coast defenders. Sugar Bear, Big Suge, the Red Bear, right? I'm not in California to know who the other ones are, but they there. They OGs now. They the ones that's telling the YGs, hey, we ain't finna do that dumb shit. You're not gonna go rob no liquor store. We gonna get 1,000 motherfuckers and run up in Nordstrom and hit their ass in the pockets. Make their insurance pay them. Exploit the law and use it to our benefit. So when the Caliphia Queens reconstitute the replica of the Caliphia Castle, we call it the Disney Castle because we don't know that that's the replica that the Spanish Armada bombed into oblivion where Alcatraz is at. So I'm telling it.
Ooh. Oh. Yeah, boy. All right. Well, real quick, because we definitely going hot and hard. To take a quick breath because the comments is going crazy. I can't even keep up with that. Shout out to T-Mac 305. I'm gonna bring you up too. Said Chief Pontiac in the building. Yeah, Chief Pontiac definitely in the building and burning it down too. Can you kind of, before we go into like the next phase, because it's a lot. Okay, so can you kind of break down Queen Califia and like where California came from, for those who might not know, because I know there's a lot of people on here that do, but a lot of people I'm pretty sure don't know. So can you kind of break down the ties between Queen Califia and the state of California?
Queen Califia is the matriarch. It was a collection of 5 of them. It wasn't just one. It was 5 Califia queens, but the eldest was the senior. She's the one that's on the crest for California from the tribes. And they are the ones who everything west of the Rocky Mountains from Alaska all the way going into Mexico, that's their territory. They champion is Tupac. He always been from the time he was Tupac Amaru all the way back to when he was Tut in Arizona. They war with the Califia Queens is given to us as fictional writings, right? So that we won't never believe that the story of Wonder Woman is the story of Califia. If you pay attention to the story of Wonder Woman, her sister is a sister. Make it make sense. Her sister is a sister because they wanted to pretend that it was a such thing as a white man. Ain't no such thing as no white man for real. That's a royal status of European nobility. Anybody that's a practitioner of them wear they jewels on their lapel to show you that they work for the black nobility. But they black nobility because they conceal, they stealthy. They in stealth mode, but they the white man.
Yep.
In Spain, they was called conquistadors. In France, they was called Huguenots. In England, they was called gentry or royal families of Europe. The ones that ruled Europe from 711 to 14 something. Right? Then they got kicked out, finally got kicked out in 1493 or 94 after Columbus made his voyage. They was all being rounded up and shipped to something called Al Maghrib, which today is Morocco, Tunis, and Libya. And from there, they launched an attack by order of the Pope, and they went around South America to attack the West Coast. Right? That was De Soto. And they bombed the castle because the women wouldn't do business with them because they didn't want them here. And they called them some selfish bitches and they blew the motherfucker down. They had to build a replica. So Walter Disney was responsible to build the replica. So he built the replica. And what it looked like is just like the Disney castle, but it was a real castle. And they went from bombing it, turning it into a military outpost. Then they converted the military base into a prison. Then they shut it down because the spirits was walking. I mean, it's the history. It's just who we are. Right? Yep. Turn the capital into a prison. They love all our castles. If you look at the prisons around the country, they are castles repurposed to be a prison. Whether it's Jackson, whether it's Pontiac, Illinois, whether it's Stateville, Illinois, what's the one on the bay in California? Look at the prisons. They turn all of our castles into prisons, state buildings, and mental institutions.
Yeah, that's deep.
Because they was trying to claim after the Lewis and Clark expedition, they claimed we didn't have no royalty on the land. But that's because we all was going to fight in the Gullah Wars in Florida. So while we going south and east, they going north and west. Go look at the map.
Yeah.
Go look at the travel path of Lewis and Clark, because the main chiefs all over the land was en route because the Big Mama, who was from the Gullah Geechee community in the Carolinas, called us to war. We know who called us. Because we know who is the only person that can call all tribes on deck. Big Mama, the only one. The only one. We're not going to move for nobody else. And if Big Mama call us and we don't want to go, our Big Mama for our tribe going to say, you going to get your ass over here and fight.
Big Chief, can I listen? Can we talk about Gullah Geechee and that little section right there and how that ties into what we're talking about tonight?
So, those people, they call them Gullah Geechee, but we also had people called Getty Geechee. But all of these is later terms applied to us. And when the Gullah Wars was going on, the Spanish called them Seminole Wars. We call them Gullah Wars because we know who called us to war. And they call them Seminole War from the word Seminoles. They say it means runaway, but the root word is semi, which means half. Which means that the tribes was a mixed breed of people that they was talking about. The runaway slave, when they showed you that famous picture of the brother standing next to the Mongolian was the runaway slave, not the nappy-head dude. They was brought over originally as indentured servants from the slave villages from years of fighting Mongolians and Huns in Vedics of the Roman Empire. They created slave villages for their captives to live in. And then when they got kicked out of Europe, they brought them with them. And then in the Trail of Tears, they switched us out. They sent them to Indian school to teach them our stuff. Go look at a picture of the old Indian schools and zoom in on them babies. Them not no goddamn pale faces. They Asians.
Shout out to Mama V. I was just talking to her about that tonight. Let me ask you this real quick. Oh my God, this is dope. So, man. All right. So let me ask you this, because I'm not 100% sure, but something you said, it kind of clicked that it might be some correlation. So when you said, I think you said something about Attila the Hun and like the battles and the wars and all that. Is Attila the Hun or whatever that's called, like, does that have something to do with Genghis Khan and like with him and his
Attila the Hun was a Hun. Genghis Khan was Mongolian. Those are two different bloodlines. Those are two different bloodlines of Asians.
But I know Genghis Khan had a lot of children, like a lot of children,
like 5,000.
Yeah, so that's why I was wondering if any of that had anything to do with like tying into what we're talking about now.
It's directly tied. It's a book called Leadership Secrets of Attila the Hun. In that book, he talk about the student exchange program that they signed in the peace treaty with the Romans, and the leader of each country would send their sons to go learn from the other country, right? if you study the history of Genghis Khan, he was stopping the beastie hordes from the west from invading in to what is known as Siberian Peninsula today. Right? So or not peninsula, the Siberian tundra. He was Siberian. The Huns are more southern and closer to the Hindus of India, and the Mongolians is more northeastern. They were more the round face, what we call pie face, than the Huns. It was two different bloodlines. If you go to Google and just ask what percentage of men has Genghis Khan blood, it's gonna blow your mind to find out how many over here.
Right, and that's what made me ask that question, because I can't even remember where I picked that information up at, but I was either studying something or researching something. I saw it somewhere, and that's what made that kind of like trigger in my mind, is that connected, because I know he did that specifically and intentionally for doing what what they are doing. You know what I mean? Like putting his DNA out there to do whatever he can get it to do. But
his DNA got over here with the incursion of the Moors who brought him over as servants.
Right.
Right. A lot of those tribes, if you take the feathers off, and then you go look at the Mongolian tribes, they dress the same. They never, because you can take a person and re-educate him, but what's in his soul is going to permeate through his DNA, and he's going to reconstitute. It's two groups of those mothers. It's the ones who took sides with the dirty Moors, and then it's the ones that took sides with us. How can you tell the difference? The ones that took sides with the enemy, they all got casinos and living high on the hog with no resistance. The ones that took sides with us, like the ones in Arizona, dirt poor. And all they do is get drunk. Because alcohol don't do us well across the tribes. Right? When we've been drinking for thousands of years, but it was only the old Mississippians. The rest of the tribes weren't drinking tribes. They were smoking tribes. They was peyote tribes. They was mushroom tribes. They was tobacco tribes. You know, they was lavender tribes. They was herbal tribes. All of them didn't drink. So when they finally got a hold of some alcohol, it fucked them up.
Yeah. And
right.
We see but our families now, like in real life, like in real time, not going to our original tribes, but just based off of what you said. Now, let me ask you this, because you going in, man. Oh boy. So let me ask you this. So now when you talk about that, in regards to like the smoking tribes, the mushroom tribes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When we talk about shamans and healers and priests and priestesses, you know, all that, diviners, all those sages, all of the elements that we need to be able to kind of like proceed in regards to the movement of the revolution and the empowerment of our people. There was always that shaman, there was always that healer, there was always that, you know, that priestess, et cetera, like sinners, you had the hoodoo woman, et cetera. But there was a call that I saw with you, I can't remember which brother it was, but we were talking about, y'all talking about the significance of tobacco or even mushrooms as well, and how they give us the ability to tap into a much higher level of consciousness and to receive messages from that kingdom, like i.e. the mushroom, and how I think he was talking about how one of the mushrooms was talking to you or something crazy like that.
The spirit of the mushroom.
Yeah, it was Brother Rich show, and he was talking about the tobacco he got from like Honduras or something like that. So can you kind of tie in or share with us how these different types of elements can help us to access higher realms of consciousness, but also receive messages or intelligence from spirit from which that particular element comes from?
So once you in tune with the spirit of the mushroom, you can draw information from what's called the psilocybin network. That's a network that all mushrooms communicate on a spiritual level, right? And far as tobacco, you have something called nicotine receptors that boost the function of the brain, right? They don't tell us about that, but the nicotine receptors is there because we've been using nicotine for so long to aid us in awakening our consciousness. You have something in your body called an endocannabinoid network, where you have endocannabinoid receptors and all throughout the body. And the use of the cannabis allows you to connect your endocannabinoid system, which brings you into the ability to download information out of the ethers. Right. So when you hear people talking about they was reading the ethers, that's the same thing that we do if we know how to use our endocannabinoid system. Right. All these are means to tap into higher states of consciousness. Right. But they poison us so much now that even a lot of the tobacco is sprayed with aluminum sulfide, cyanide, sulfates, and different poisons to try to minimize its positive effects. So the side effect of smoking becomes lung cancer and all of that. But if they didn't have, if you remember, we had grandmamas that was in their 90s and big papas that was in their hundreds that have been smoking since they was 5 and never caught cancer, because a lot of our medicine was in the food. And the tobacco wasn't toxic until they put toxic pesticides on the tobacco. And that's what makes the tobacco become toxic. Otherwise, it would be benign smoke, right? With positive, what they call nootropic effect, stimulating the function of brain communication. The CBDs in the cannabis is also, it's like a facilitator for rapid synaptic firing of the neurons in the brain. So the it's like greasing up the system. And then you have what's called the soot from the dirty burn. That's why you get the munchies, because the sugar is the catalyst for most brain function, the glucose. Like 80% of your glucose is used to make your brain function. Right. So when you had the munchies and you eat a bunch of sweet stuff, you get what's called the rapid dirty burn, which produces the soot. The soot is the carbon, which is the mirror to melanin. And when you put two mirrors, you can see the difference between the two. Right. So it's all functioning within the biology of who we are. And this is why we use those substances. This is what make you become a vice lord, the lord of your vice. Your vice don't rule you. You use the stuff that became vices that didn't affect us before to facilitate you reaching different states of consciousness, which allow you to download information in the waking state, sometime in the dream state.
That's deep, bro. That's real deep, because I just had a crazy dream last night too. Excuse me, but whew, yeah, that's deep. Like, that's real deep. Man, there's so many different ways I want to go with where we are right now. We at an intersection here. Man, it's a lot. So okay, let me ask you this.
You gotta ask everything in one session.
I know. That's why I'm like, wow.
Yeah,
like, I knew it was gonna be like this. So
they asked me how to eat an elephant. I told them one bite at a time.
That's all we can do. That, and look, that goes back to E5 too. E5 has it's an Odu that speaks on that, about how to take down the elephant. It's one bite at a time. But look, okay, so let me ask you this, because we need a lot of healing, right? We need a lot of healing. I feel like there's so much going on right now, and I feel like there's so many of us who are at the level who can appreciate the information, or even like the crystallization that for some people listening is going to be a confirmation of what they've already knew, felt, seen, or heard, in other places or experiences, right? But then there's a group of us who that they haven't been able to like reach or tap into being in alignment with where this particular conversation is going. But that, I want to be clear, that doesn't diminish or make them less than, anybody else or anything like that, because we need everybody at this point, all hands on deck. So where can we help to kind of create that starting point for those people who are on the show or on the live or who might watch the replay to like tap into not just this level of energy, but also if they want to maybe research their roots or their heritage and how that all plays a part into who they are at this point in our time.
Well, all of the information is in the public domain. Most of it is in books. If you go back to Bobby Hemmett say they put everything in the books. They wrote it all down, right? In ancient Egypt, when they said we was gonna go into this darkness, they said that we needed to start to record the history in writing so that the future generations on the other side of the amnesia would be able to recover the information from the writings, right? So it's a lot of different venues of study tribes, study the history of the so-called Native American, and then ask yourself, what in this description do we already do every day naturally? Because what you do naturally is what you learn from nature. What you learn to do unnaturally is what you learn from man. And you will see that we still move according to the same tribal patterns we always move.
That's deep. Can you say that what you just said again? What was learned and like what was? Can you say that again? Like that last you said something about what was learned by nature and what was learned by man. Can you share that?
Yeah, that which we do naturally is what we learned from nature, which is already in us. That which we learn that's unnatural, we learn it from man, right? So what that means is when we watch Bloods, B-Walk, Crips, C-Walk, we watch them boys in the Midwest Hoover stomping, we watch them line dancing, that's coming from the soul. When we got our boots on the ground, actually where them fans at, that's coming from the soul. And we all get on board because we recognize something in the frequency, and the song is the rally cry, and the dance is the expression. So what you learn naturally comes forth from your DNA, and it's stuff you do automatic. It's like Big Mama go in the kitchen and cook for everybody in the house. She don't just cook for her, right? Where if a person live by themselves, they might cook too much food because they naturally want to cook for a family, right? That's nature.